The council asked for weak humans. The military said, "We're still searching." Part 1. The request. Great Hall of the Galactic Council was bigger than any building on Earth. Thousands of alien species sat in floating chairs that went up and up until they disappeared into the darkness above. Lights of every color floated through the air. Strange sounds filled the room as beings from 100 different worlds talked in their own languages. High Arbiter Velas stood at the center of it all. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 6 eyes that moved in different directions. His voice was soft, but everyone could hear him. The translation machines made sure of that. "The humans have passed all tests," Velas announced. "They may now join the Galactic Coalition." A wave of sounds moved through the hall. Some species clapped. Others made clicking noises. A few remained silent, watching with careful eyes. "But," Velas continued, raising one long finger, "they must follow our rules. All new species must contribute soldiers to the Coalition Defense Force. The number depends on their weakness tier." On a small screen, a chart appeared. It showed different species arranged by how weak they were. The weakest species sent only 10 soldiers. The strongest sent thousands. "We must assess humanity," Velas said. "Send us 50 of your weakest citizens. We will test them and decide your tier." The message traveled across space. It took 3 days to reach Earth. General Park Do-young received it in his office in Seoul. He was a man of 50 years with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served in the military for 30 years. He had seen many strange things. But this message was new. He read it twice. Then he read it again. "They want our weakest?" He said out loud. His aide, Captain Yoon-hana, stood by the door. She was young, maybe 30, with short black hair and a sharp mind. She had been working with the general for 2 years. "That is what the translation says, sir," she replied. Do-yoon put down the message. He walked to his window and looked out at the city. Cars moved through the streets below. People walked on sidewalks. Children played in a park nearby. "What does weak mean?" he asked. Hannah thought about this. "I suppose it means those who cannot fight. The sick, the old, the disabled." "Find them," Do-yoon said. "Start looking. We need 50 people." The search began the next day. The military opened its files. They looked at everyone who had been discharged, everyone who had failed training, everyone who had been sent home for any reason. The first file belonged to Private Kang Tae-woo. He was 28 years old. He had lost his left arm in a training accident 4 years ago. A machine had crushed it. The doctors could not save it. "Here," said one of the officers. "He is missing an arm." "That is weak, yes?" They looked deeper into his file. After losing his arm, Tae-woo had received a prosthetic. It was made of metal and plastic. It worked almost like a real arm. Almost. But Tae-woo had not been satisfied with almost. He had trained with his new arm every day. He had lifted weights. He had practiced fighting. He had pushed himself harder than before. Now he held 3 powerlifting records. He could lift more weight than most men with 2 good arms. He worked in logistics, but he also trained new soldiers on the weekends. "Next," said Captain Yoon-hana. The second file belonged to Corporal Bae-yuri. She was blind in one eye. She had been born that way. Her right eye saw nothing but darkness. "One eye," said the officer. "Surely this counts as weak." They read more. Yuri had joined the military at 18. She had struggled at first. Shooting was hard with one eye. Depth perception was difficult. Many told her to quit. She did not quit. She practiced more than anyone else. She learned to judge distance by other means. She developed tricks that no one had taught her. Now she was the most accurate sniper in the Pacific Division. She had won every competition for 5 years. Other snipers came to her for advice. "Next," said Hana again, her voice flat. They went through file after file. Each one told a similar story. There was Sergeant Moon Jong-ho, who had bad knees. He could not run without pain. But he had designed a new type of military transport that changed how the army moved supplies. There was Lieutenant Kwon Suni, who suffered from severe asthma. She could not breathe well in certain conditions. But she had completed officer training at the top of her class and now commanded a unit of 200 soldiers. There was Private Oh Mingyu, who was small and thin. He weighed less than most women, but he was the Army's best infiltration specialist. He could squeeze through spaces others could not. He had completed more stealth missions than anyone in his division. Days passed. The pile of rejected files grew taller. The pile of accepted files remained empty. General Park Do-yoon called a meeting. His top officers sat around a long table. Captain Yoon Hana stood by his side. "Report," he said. Colonel Shin Yoonji spoke first. She was in charge of the search. Her face looked tired. "We have reviewed over 2,000 files, sir. We cannot find anyone who meets the criteria." "No one?" Do-hyun asked. "Every person we find has some ability that makes them valuable. Every weakness comes with a strength. We have not found anyone who's simply weak." The room fell quiet. Outside, the sun was setting. Orange light came through the windows. "Keep searching," Do-hyun said. "Look at civilians. Look at the elderly. Look everywhere. The council is waiting." He did not say what he was thinking. He was beginning to wonder if they would ever find what the council wanted. Maybe, he thought, weak humans did not exist. The council asked for weak humans. The military said, "We're still searching." Part 2. The search continues. 3 weeks had passed since the council's request. The alien diplomats were getting impatient. Every day, new messages arrived. Each one was more urgent than the last. "Where are your weak citizens?" they asked. "Why is this taking so long?" General Park Do-hyun had no good answer. The search had expanded beyond the military. Now they were looking at everyone in the country. Civilians, the elderly, the sick, anyone who might be considered weak. Colonel Shin Yoonji led the effort. She worked 18 hours a day. Her team had grown from 10 people to 100. They reviewed files from hospitals, schools, and community centers. They talked to doctors and social workers. They cast the widest net they could. And still, they found nothing useful. One morning, Yoonji brought a new file to the general's office. Captain Yoon Hana was there too, drinking coffee and looking just as tired as everyone else. "I think we found someone," Yoonji said. But her voice did not sound hopeful. The file belonged to Oh Jisoo. She was 73 years old. She was a grandmother. She had never served in the military. She had never held a weapon in her life. She was retired and lived alone in a small apartment in Bizen. "This looks promising," said Do-hyun. "What is wrong with her?" Yoonji sighed. "She practices Hapkido every morning. She has done this for 50 years. She runs marathons for charity. Last year, she finished one in under 5 hours." Hannah put down her coffee. "A 73-year-old woman runs marathons?" "That is not all," Yoonji continued. 2 months ago, a young man stole a woman's purse near her apartment. Jisoo saw this happen. She chased him for 8 city blocks. When she caught him, she held him on the ground until the police arrived. Do-hyun rubbed his forehead. "She caught a thief? At her age?" "The thief was 24 years old," Yoonji said. He told the police he had never been so scared in his life. There was silence in the room. Then Hana spoke. "What about her health? Surely she has some problems at 73. Yoonji shook her head. Her doctor says she's in better shape than most people half her age. She also volunteers as a firefighter on weekends. A firefighter, Do-yoon repeated. Volunteer firefighter. She says it keeps her active. The file went into the rejected pile. The search continued. The next candidate was Han Sung-ho. He was a librarian. He was 35 years old. He had never passed a physical fitness test in his life. He had severe anxiety. He did not like crowds or loud noises. He had never even been in a fight. Finally, said Yoonji, someone who cannot fight. They brought Sung-ho in for an interview. He sat in a plastic chair, looking nervous. His hands shook slightly. He kept glancing at the door. Lieutenant Cha Min-ho conducted the interview. He was a young officer with a kind face. He tried to make Sung-ho feel comfortable. Tell us about your anxiety, Min-ho said. Sung-ho swallowed. It started when I was young. I see threats everywhere. I cannot stop my brain from analyzing things. Every room I enter, I find the exits. Every person I meet, I assess if they are dangerous. It is exhausting. Min-ho nodded slowly. You analyze threats? All the time. I cannot help it. In the library, I have planned 17 different escape routes. I know which shelves would provide the best cover in an emergency. I know where the fire extinguishers are and how to use them as weapons. The room went quiet. Min-ho looked at his notes. He looked at Sung-ho. He looked back at his notes. Have you ever considered military strategy? He asked. Sung-ho blinked. What? Your brain. The way it works. That is exactly what tactical officers do. They analyze threats. They plan responses. They prepare for every possibility. Sung-ho had never thought of it that way. His whole life, he had seen his anxiety as a curse. Now someone was telling him it might be a gift. The military psychologist reviewed his case. The report came back the next day. He would be excellent in strategic command, the psychologist wrote. His constant threat assessment is a highly valuable skill. We recommend training, not rejection. Han Sung-ho went into the rejected pile. Days turned into weeks. The rejected pile grew taller and taller. The team found people with every kind of problem. Physical disabilities, mental health issues, age, illness. None of it mattered. There was a woman in a wheelchair who had designed a new type of military drone. There was a man with severe depression who had written training manuals used by armies around the world. There was a teenage girl with cancer who had raised more money for veterans than any other civilian in history. Each person had something. Some skill, some strength, some ability that made them valuable. One evening, Colonel Shin Yoonji sat alone in her office. Papers covered every surface. Coffee cups lined the edges of her desk. She had not slept in 2 days. Captain Yoon Hana knocked on her door. The general wants an update, Hana said. Yoonji laughed. It was not a happy laugh. Tell him we are still searching. He knows. The council sent another message today. They are threatening to revoke our membership if we do not send someone soon. Yoonji stood up. She walked to her window. The city was dark now. Only the lights of buildings and cars remained. Can we at least find someone, she said slowly, who is not accidentally qualified for something? Hannah did not answer. There was no answer to give. The next morning, General Park Do-yoon made a decision. He could not wait any longer. The council was losing patience. He needed to do something. Forget the search, he told his officers. We have looked everywhere. We have found nothing. I am going to call the council myself. He walked to the communication room. He sat down in front of the screen. He took a deep breath. Then he told the aliens the truth. He told them that weak humans did not seem to exist. The council asked for weak humans. The military said, we're still searching. Part 3. The compromised General Park Do-hyun sat in front of the communication screen. The connection was still loading. Blue lights blinked on the machine. Strange symbols moved across the display. Captain Yoon Hannah stood behind him. She was nervous. They all were. No one had ever told the Galactic Council that they could not follow instructions. The screen flickered. Then a face appeared. It was Councillor Therix, one of the Council's diplomatic officers. He was a strange-looking being. His body was long and thin, like a tree branch. His skin was pale blue. He had 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows of 3. Each eye blinked at different times. "General Park," Therix said. His voice was smooth and calm. "We have been waiting for your response. It has been 4 weeks. This is unusual." Dawn nodded. "Counselor, I must be honest with you. We have a problem." "A problem?" "We have examined approximately 14 million candidates. We cannot find anyone who meets your criteria for week." Therix was silent for a moment. His eyes blinked one after another, like lights on a Christmas tree. Then he leaned closer to the screen. 14 million candidates? He repeated. "Yes. And none of them were weak?" "None of them were simply weak. Every person we found had skills, abilities, strengths that balanced their weaknesses." Therix made a sound that the translator could not identify. It might have been confusion. It might have been disbelief. Do-hyun could not tell. "Surely," Therix said slowly, "you have ill citizens. People who are sick. We do. Send them." Do-hyun looked at Hannah. She handed him a file. He opened it and read from the first page. "Our ill include a man named Baek Junho. He has terminal cancer. The doctors say he has less than 2 years to live." When he received this news, he decided to complete Special Forces training. Therix blinked all 6 eyes at once. Why would a dying man do this? He said he wanted to stay busy. He finished the training in record time. He is now teaching survival skills to new recruits. There was a long pause. Therix seemed to be processing this information. His eyes moved in strange patterns. "What about your elderly?" he asked. "Surely old age brings weakness." Do-hyun nodded at Hannah again. She handed him another file. "Our elderly include combat veterans who retired decades ago. Many of them still train. They teach hand-to-hand combat at military schools. One of them, a man named An Kyung-soo, is 68 years old. He can still defeat soldiers half his age in practice fights." "He defeats younger soldiers?" "Regularly. He says it keeps him sharp." Therix leaned back. His thin body swayed slightly, like a branch in the wind. He was clearly struggling to understand. "The disabled, then," he said. "Those with physical limitations. Surely they cannot fight." This time, Hannah spoke. Her voice was clear and confident. "Counselor, one of our disabled citizens is a woman named Song My-rae. She cannot walk. She uses a wheelchair. She has never used her legs." "There," Therix said quickly. "She would qualify. She is also the person who designed our most advanced exoskeleton suits. These are machines that allow soldiers to lift heavy objects and survive in dangerous environments. She invented them. That does not disqualify her. Many inventors are weak in combat." Hannah continued. When the first suit was ready for testing, she insisted on piloting it herself. She said no one else understood the machine like she did. She walked for the first time in her life inside that suit. Then she used it to lift a military transport vehicle. Therix said nothing. His eyes had stopped blinking. Do-hyun put down the files. He looked directly at the screen. "Counselor, we have searched everywhere. We have looked at soldiers and civilians, children and elderly, healthy and sick. Everyone has something. Everyone contributes something. We cannot, in good conscience, classify any of them as weak. There must be children. Therix tried again. Young ones who have not yet learned to fight. Do-hyun almost smiled. Counselor, our children start martial arts training at age 4. It is part of our culture. By age 10, most of them know multiple fighting styles. By age 15, many could defend themselves against grown adults. That is unusual. Perhaps, but it is how we raise our young. The silence stretched on. Do-hyun could see Therix thinking. The alien was trying to find another angle. Another way to get what the council wanted. Finally, Therix spoke again. His voice was different now. Less confident. More uncertain. Send anyone, he said. We simply need to assess them. The council cannot create a tier classification without data. Send 50 of your citizens, whatever their abilities, and we will test them ourselves. Do-hyun considered this. It was not a perfect solution, but it was a way forward. Very well, he said. We will ask for volunteers. Anyone who wishes to represent humanity at your assessment may do so. Volunteers? Therix seemed confused again. You will not order them to come? That is not how we do things, Counselor. Our people choose their own paths. Those who wish to be tested will step forward. Those who do not will stay home. Therix blinked slowly. And if no one volunteers? This time, Do-hyun did smile. Counselor, when we told our military that aliens wanted to test human abilities, we received over 50,000 applications in the first hour. Finding volunteers is not the problem. Then what is the problem? Choosing only 50. The call ended soon after. Therix needed time to report to the council. Do-hyun needed time to organize the selection. Hana walked with him back to his office. The sun was setting again. Another day was ending. Do you think they understand? She asked. Do-hyun shook his head. Not yet. But they will. When they see our people, they will understand. He looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, 50 humans were preparing for a journey. They did not know yet that they had been chosen. They did not know that they would represent all of humanity. But Do-hyun knew one thing for certain. Whatever the council expected, they were about to be surprised. The council asked for weak humans. The military said, "We're still searching." Part 4. The assessment. The coalition assessment. Station floated in space like a giant silver wheel. It was the size of a small city. Lights blinked along its edges. Ships came and went through dozens of docking ports. The human transport arrived on a Tuesday morning station time. 50 volunteers stepped off the ship and looked around with curious eyes. They had traveled for 3 weeks to reach this place. Now they were finally here. Sergeant Lee Wonjin was the first off the ship. He was 32 years old, tall, and strong. He had requested this mission as a vacation from his desk job. Paperwork was boring. Alien tests sounded interesting. Behind him came Dr. No Yumbi. She was a combat medic with 15 years of experience. She had come because she wanted to study alien medicine. Every new species had different bodies, different ways of healing. She wanted to learn them all. Private NGA walked next. She was young, only 22. She had just finished basic training 3 months ago. Some people said she was too new for this mission. She said she wanted to prove herself. Then came retired Master Sergeant Ahn Kyung-soo. At 68, he was the oldest in the group. His hair was white. His face was lined with wrinkles. But his eyes were sharp, and his body was still strong. He had come because he was bored at home. Last came Ru Somi. She was not a soldier. She was an engineer, a civilian consultant. She had designed weapons and vehicles for military for 10 years. She had come because she wanted to examine alien technology. These 5 were just the beginning. Behind them came 45. more. Teachers, scientists, athletes, artists. Each one had their own reason for volunteering. The council observers met them at the dock. There were 7 aliens in total. Each one came from a different species. They carried devices that scanned the humans from head to toe. "Welcome to the assessment station," said the lead observer. His name was Coordinator Felix. He was short and round, with green skin and tiny black eyes. "You will stay here for 10 days. During this time, we will test your physical and mental abilities. Please follow all instructions." The humans nodded. They were led to their rooms, given food, and told to rest. The test began the next morning. The first test was simple. Stand in one place for 1 hour. Do not move. Do not speak. Just stand. The humans looked at each other. This seemed too easy. "Is this really the test?" Wanjin asked. "Yes," said Felix. "Most species find this challenging. Remaining still requires great endurance." The humans lined up in a large white room. Cameras watched them from every angle. The observers sat behind glass windows, taking notes. An alarm sounded. The test began. For the first 30 minutes, nothing happened. The humans stood quietly. Some shifted their weight from one foot to the other. Some stretched their necks. But no one complained. At 40 minutes, and GA got bored. She started doing squats, up and down, while staying in her assigned spot. "What is she doing?" one observer asked. "I believe she is exercising," Felix answered. "Should we stop her?" "The rules only say to stand in place. She is not breaking any rules." At 50 minutes, An Kyung-soo closed his eyes. His breathing slowed. His body relaxed. He was sleeping, standing up. "Is he unconscious?" Another observer asked with concern. "No," said Felix after checking his scanner. "He is sleeping. Standing sleep." I did not know this was possible. The hour ended. Every human had passed. Several observers had stopped taking notes. They simply stared. The second test was cognitive. Pattern recognition. The humans were shown shapes and asked to predict what came next. This was supposed to take 2 hours. Dr. No Yumbi finished in 20 minutes. While waiting for the others, she noticed a small cut on her hand. She had gotten it from a sharp edge on her chair. She cleaned it, bandaged it, and then began sketching notes about the alien medical supplies she had seen. "She is multitasking," one observer noted. "Humans do this often," another replied. "Our research shows they rarely focus on only one thing." The tests continued. Strength tests, speed tests, memory tests, problem-solving tests. With each one, the observers became more and more quiet. By day 5, something strange happened. The observers stopped trying to find weaknesses. They started trying to find limits. How long could humans run? The answers seemed to be very, very long. Private MGA ran on a machine for 6 hours before they asked her to stop. How much could humans lift? Sergeant Lee Wanjin lifted weights until the machine ran out of heavier options. How quickly could humans learn? Rusomi learned to read basic alien text in 3 days. The average for most species was 3 months. On day 7, Coordinator Felix called a private meeting with his fellow observers. "I do not understand," he said. "The council asked for weak humans. These do not seem weak. Perhaps they sent their strong ones by mistake," suggested another observer. "I reviewed their files. The young one, NGA, is considered inexperienced. The old one, An Kyung-soo, is considered past his prime. The engineer, Rusomi, is a civilian with no combat training. These are their weak ones?" Felix did not answer. He had no answer to give. The test continued for 3 more days. Each day brought new surprises. The humans helped each other. They laughed. They talked. They treated the tests like games, not challenges. On the final day, something unexpected happened. A small fire broke out in one of the station's storage rooms. It was an accident. A machine had malfunctioned. Before the station's safety team could respond, the humans had already put out the fire. An Kyung-soo had organized them. No Yoonbi had checked for injuries. Wonjin and Ji-hae had carried the fire equipment. Somi had fixed the broken machine. The whole thing took 4 minutes. Felix watched the security footage again and again. The humans had worked together without speaking. They had known what to do without instructions. They had solved the problem before anyone else even realized there was a problem. "This is not normal," he said quietly. He did not know how right he was. The council asked for weak humans. The military said, "We're still searching." Part 5. The verdict: the Great Hall of the Galactic Council was full again. Every seat was taken. Every floating platform was occupied. Thousands of eyes looked down at the center of the room. High Arbiter Velith stood at his usual place. His gray skin seemed paler than before. His 6 eyes moved nervously. He had read the reports from the assessment station. He had read them many times. He still did not believe them. General Park Do-yeon stood before him. Captain Yoon Hana was at his side. They had traveled for 2 weeks to attend this meeting. They did not know what to expect. "General Park," Velith began. His voice echoed through the hall. "Your people have completed the assessment." "They have," Do-yeon replied calmly. "You sent us your weakest, as requested. We sent you volunteers. As we explained, we could not identify anyone meeting your criteria for weak." Velith made a strange sound. It might have been a sigh. It might have been frustration. The translator could not tell. "The elderly male," Velith said. "An Kyung-soo. He is 68 years old. That is correct. He outperformed 90% of the other species in physical tests. He put out a fire while half asleep. He taught 3 of our observers a new fighting technique during a rest period." Do-yeon nodded. "He gets bored easily," Velith continued. "The young female MGA, fresh from training, you said. Inexperienced. She graduated 3 months before the assessment. She scored in the top 5% of all beings ever tested at the station. She learned our emergency procedures faster than some of our own staff. She asked if she could retake the running test because she felt she could do better. She is competitive," Do-yeon said simply. "The civilian engineer, Ru Somi. No combat training. No military experience. She designs equipment. She's not a fighter." Velith's eyes blinked rapidly. During the 10-day assessment, she built 3 working prototypes in her spare time. She improved the efficiency of 2 of our testing machines. She asked for access to our engine room because she was, in her words, understimulated. There was a ripple of noise through the hall. Species whispered to each other in languages too numerous to count. This was not normal. This had never happened before. Velith raised his hand. The hall fell silent. "General Park," he said slowly, "the Coalition's weakness tier system was designed to protect less capable species from dangerous assignments. We give easy tasks to the weak. We give hard tasks to the strong. This keeps everyone safe." "I understand," Do-yeon said. "We created 7 tiers. Tier 1 is the weakest. Tier 7 is the strongest. Most species fall in tiers 2 through 5. Only 3 species have ever been classified as Tier 7. Hannah stepped forward slightly. "What tier has humanity been assigned?" Velith was silent for a long moment. His eyes looked at the floor. Then they looked at the ceiling. Then they looked at the humans. "We are revising your classification," he said finally. "To what?" Do-yeon asked. Another long silence. Thousands of beings waited. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. "We are creating a new tier," Velith admitted. Tier 8. The system did not previously account for a species with no identifiable weakness threshold. The hall exploded with sound. Some species cheered. Others gasped. A few made sounds that the translators registered as fear. Velith raised his hand again. Slowly, the noise faded. "Let me be clear," he said. "We tested 50 humans. We expected to find limits. We found none. We expected to find weaknesses. We found adaptations. We expected to find a range of abilities. We found that your weakest matched our strongest." He paused. His eyes settled on Do-Yun. "Your species does not belong in our tier system. You exist outside it. We do not know what to do with you." Do-Hyun felt Hana tense beside him. This could go many ways. The council could reject them, fear them, treat them as threats. Instead, Velith did something unexpected. He bowed. "The Galactic Coalition welcomes humanity," he said. "Not as a lower-tier species, not as equals, but as something new, something we have not seen before." He straightened up. His 6 eyes met Do-Hyun's too. "We will learn from you. And perhaps, in time, we will understand how a species with no weak members is possible." The meeting ended shortly after. Details would be worked out later. Treaties would be signed. Agreements would be made. Do-Hyun and Hana walked back to their ship in silence. The halls of the station were busy with aliens of every shape and size. Many of them stopped to stare at the humans. Word had already spread. "What happens now?" Hana asked as they boarded their transport. Do-Hyun sat down in his chair. He thought about the assessment. He thought about the council. He thought about the 50 volunteers who had represented their species so well. "Now," he said, "we go home. We tell our people what happened. And we continue what we have always done, which is being human, whatever that means." The ship's engines started. Stars appeared in the windows. Soon they would be home. Before they left, a final message arrived from the council. It was addressed to Earth's military command. It was short and formal. It read, "Assessment complete. New classification established. Tier 8. Humanity exceeds all existing parameters. Recommend continued observation." Attached was a note from a Coordinator Felix, the observer, who had spent 10 days with the human volunteers. It read, "We asked for your weak. You told us you could not find any. We did not believe you. Now we understand. Please continue your search. Perhaps one day you will find a weak human. Until then, we will wait." General Park Do-Hyun read the message. He smiled. Then he typed a reply. It was 2 words. "Still searching." He suspected they always would be. In the back of the ship. An King-Su was already asleep. Njire was exercising. Noyumbi was writing notes. Wanjin was playing cards with some of the other volunteers. Rusomi was taking apart a piece of alien technology she had somehow acquired. They were humans. They were ordinary. They were weak by no measure that existed. And they were just the beginning. The end.